toke etea amache tokea oko So, welcome to Talking with Guides. That was one of mine coming through. So, where to begin? Let's see. I'm going to talk a little bit to start with about how I got started talking with guides, give you a few stories, and then I hope you all have your handout, and I'll be weaving in and around through that. And if you have questions, you can come in through the live chat to ask your questions, which Jessica will be helping me to see. Jessica, you're getting into the page. So, anyway, here we go. I probably was born like this, but I got really trained out of it. Really trained out of it for a very, very long time. And then in my mid-30s, I joined a spiritual community where the teacher talked with unseen beings, which I thought was way cool. And it seemed really like spiritual and really, like he must be an advanced being and all this. Well, I found out later that was a yes and a no in the same breath. And there was a lot of things about being there that I didn't really feel were the quality of interacting with people and with spirit that I wanted. And it took me only about 10 years to realize that if you say one of your main guides is Jack Daniels, the spirit of Jack Daniels, that maybe it's not the highest quality, A little slow on the uptake there.
Discernment.
Discernment is a big thing. Discernment is very big.
Big lesson.
He's honest.
Well, that was one of the things that made it so challenging, because he was totally honest, and he wove it all in. And it was like, oh, this is normal, but then you realize, no, it's not. So, after I left there, 12 years after I joined the community, I left, and some friends of mine were starting to work with a group of guides, and I was like, I'm not ready for anything like this. I just got out of it. And it took me a year. It took me about a year before I was ready to say, okay, let's go exploring. And they were working with, doing some training with Kuan Yin. To me, seemed like that would be known and safe and, well, like a lot of history behind this being and for many, many, many hundreds of years. And so I thought, okay, this is a safe place to start. And started developing a relationship with her. I got a book out of the library about Kuan Yin, and I was really surprised at the range of ways that people would interact and sense and view this being that we call Kuan Yin, or this aspect of the Divine Mother, Divine Feminine that we call Kuan Yin. And some of it was the supplicant, like, oh, please, dear Kuan Yin, please save my child. Oh, please, Kuan Yin, please help us with this. Kuan Yin, the giver of the person who guards the boats out on the ocean, and those kinds of ways of interacting, which I'm not saying anything negative about that. I'm just saying it's not my way of being um, with her, with other guides. And then other people were more like devotees and in ashrams and devoted to Kuan Yin, and then again other people were like seeing her as a light being, an ascended master, and interacting more in that way. Like she and Mother Mary showed up together at Mount Shasta at one point as light beings, and some people were there interacting with them, and that was also in the book. So I was like, wow, this is a wide range, and the ascended master part of it is what speaks to me most, and so that's where I was putting my attention and my focus. Knowing that I wasn't going into an ashram, I just come out of something similar, and I was going to be in the world and doing my thing. So that was that's what spoke to my heart. That's what drew my attention. And that progressed, and over time, I worked with I got into a group with some other people, and we were talking about healing guides and developing teams of healing guides that we could work with for our own personal health and our evolutionary process. And there was one night that was pretty incredible because a bunch of us had been together in an office building that I found out later had been a Veterans of Foreign War Hall and had been remodeled into an office building. And I left there, and yes, I left there, and this guy followed me. This spirit, this man followed me out. And I'm like, hello, I don't know you, and I'm not sure I want to know you. And so I called in my team of healing guides again, and I'm like, do I need to talk to this person? Is there anything I need to do here? And any reason I need to be interacting? And they said no, that he was a lost soul that just needed some assistance to find the light, and told me that I could call for his soul group to help guide him home. So really not knowing what I doing, that's what I did. Just used their language and requested to have his soul group come and find him and take his spirit into the light. I have had that and other interactions with deceased people and animals, but it's not my path per se. So I was glad for that instruction from my healing team, that it wasn't something that I really needed, that he wasn't somebody that I really needed to engage with. And so when he left, I got in my car and I drove home, and I walked in the door, and there was my dad's dad, his father, and his stepfather, both of whom had been dead for quite a long time. And I'm going again, oh my God. No, I just left this. But I must have been wide open that night, because they were apologizing to me. Let's take a really deep breath with this one. Breath. They were apologizing to me for the ways that they had interacted with my father that affected the ways that he interacted with me. And so they were basically clearing some of their karma by apologizing to me and letting me know that it wasn't just my dad, that there was a lineage involved, which I had suspected, but I didn't understand. And I didn't understand even then until a lot later, but now I understand. I've had some other information come through that I know what went on. So that was a pretty powerful night. And then after they left, I said, I'm going to bed. I went and got under the covers.
Uh-oh.
And no, it was fine. It was fine. John was there. My sweetie, my guy, he's there. And I also just called in my healing team again and said, okay, I want really high energy around me while I'm going to sleep, and help me integrate all this. So those were some very early interactions. And so from your handout, you can kind of gather a few things that happened during that time. So I met different kinds of guides, although I hadn't met all of the kinds that I'm aware of now at that point. I had the night that I was just talking about, where the spirit guide was following me, I was also connecting into Archangel Michael. So I was with an Ascended Master and Archangel Michael, and the Deva of healing, human healing. A Deva being the being who holds the pattern for the highest blueprint of cosmic information for whatever it is. It could be a plant or a planet or a computer, or the healing process for human beings, and the electrical imprint of the whole light body for a human being. It can be any of that. So the beings that hold those patterns are called devas, at least in some languages, or spirit of is another term that's used. Let's talk about, from the handout, so from one of the things from my stories, you can probably gather already the benefits, the new perspective, expanded awareness, specific information and direction, and reassurance. And I had all of those that night. Mm-hmm. Definitely. And it continues to work that way as I work with my guides. There's continually new perspectives and new awarenesses and specific information, a lot of specific information. I bring through a lot of specific information about the plants and the flower essences that I make, and about the plant, the combinations. I work with teams when I make every single individual essence, teams of guides that work with me on that particular plant essence. And then I work with another team that works with me on when I make combinations of essences into a blend. And then there's more information about how to write it up. And basically everything that's on our website is channeled information. And everything that goes out through our newsletters is well, I don't know what you call it, channeled, or it's all done by committee. We all agree that it's ready to go. and then, so that's very specific information and direction. I'm directed, like when I did the spirit song at the beginning, and when I'm placing the bottles for making the essences and the stones, and when I'm writing, all of that there's an element of, when I'm doing healing work with people, very, very clearly, there's an element of the guides working through me, through my physical body. But this is something that this is something I really, really want to bring up, that there is a way, and there are some people that will actually let their full consciousness, or most of their consciousness, leave their body and bring in another entity to speak through them and to work through them. And I made a choice very early on that I was not going to do that I wanted to be fully conscious of everything that was happening. And it's pretty interesting, because when I'm working with clients and the guides are working through me, sometimes there's a little dialogue going on in the back of the brain, like, do I need to be doing this? What's doing that? What's this about? And I'm like, I don't consciously know why I'm doing certain things, but then I back up later, and my conscious mind kind of kicks in. It's like, oh, you do this because of that, and that, and that, and that, and I can meld the two and explain it to my client. but that was a choice that I very clearly made early on, and I think it has to probably do with some past life experiences because I was extremely clear. I was not going on a body to let anybody else in. So I'm not teaching that, and I want to make that very clear, that that's not anything that I teach, and if you choose to do that, you need to work with somebody that you know is really, really, really experienced, and is really, really reputable and very high quality, and only brings in high quality beings to work with. Possession is not a fun thing. And I'm laughing, but it's not. Possession is really not a fun thing. So, reassurance, definitely that night, the reassurance was there. And there are times when I just kind of throw up my hands and go, I don't have a clue what we're doing or why, and, or, is the timing right, and things act like they're actually going to completely fall apart, and it's like, don't worry about it, it's fine, you're on the right track, we're doing the good stuff, we'll tweak here or there. And I'm like, are you sure? Are you really sure? And it's good. But it's also good because they'll tell me if I'm kind of getting sideways with things or going off track or something that's a priority that I'm putting too much focus on. That kind of thing. But I have to remember to ask some of the time. One of the things that is listed on the next page, how to tell the quality of guides, is that they will make suggestions and offer assistance, but they will not tell you what to do or threaten or coerce. So if you're connecting to anybody whose energy you feel is not clear, is not honoring, or is in any way kind of like, you have to do this. I'm telling you because I'm the all-knowing guide, you have to do this, then that's not somebody you want to be talking to. Unless there's one of two things going on. That might be your voice. It might be your interpretation of someone who is clear because of some fear or some other experiences that are clouding what's coming through. Or it might be somebody who's just really not very good quality to even talk to. Do you have a question?
My question has to do with trust. So obviously you trust implicitly your guides.
I do.
And so, again, that word discernment.
Yes.
And you might be getting to that, so I don't want to jump the gun, but it seems like, yeah, you don't want to be coerced and all these things, but there has to be a foundation of a fit. This is my,
yes.
This is my essence. This is my guide. This is another expression of me,
right?
That you implicitly know, and so that, because the mind sabotages and plays tricks to get to that clarity, or for you, is that just always there, or you came upon that
practice
one day? Practice, like
anything else. Practice.
Okay.
Yeah. And like when I work with people one-on-one, I will be given names of guides that they can work with. And sometimes they are, and I'll get more into this, but they are aspects of the person at another dimensional level. And sometimes they are what we would call the ascended masters or cosmic beings or somebody else like that. But one way to if you say very clearly that you want to work with somebody from the Light Brotherhood, the White Brotherhood, which some people don't like that language, but that's a very ancient language, meaning this spectrum of white light, which is all high-quality beings. So Light Brotherhood, White Brotherhood, hierarchy of all beings is another term, and the continuum is another term, and no, that's not where Q is from Star Trek, but but that is another one of the terms I've heard used for all these people. And I tend to go to the Light Brotherhood, even though to me, brotherhood is, I'm not using it as a sexist term, I'm just using it as a all-encompassing. And if you very specifically, if you don't have a guide and you want to find one, and you don't have anybody to help you find one, you can always talk with your higher self, and you can always talk with someone from the Light Brotherhood. And if you're very, very clear about that's who you're connecting to and that you want to talk to, like an Ascended Master from the Light Brotherhood, or you want to talk to, let's see, that's usually who I talk to. But there's people of other planets too. Because they're of another planet doesn't mean that they're really high quality all the time. You, again, go through the Light Brotherhood, and then you know that you're getting the ones that have the frequency bands that you want to be working in. Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah.
So, one of the reasons I got to that place of Light Brotherhood, all those names, was finding a way to connect with people of higher quality. And before I even started working with those other friends that I was talking about, that we've been talking about at Healing Guides, before I even started that, I used to have a house cleaning business in Boulder, Colorado, and that's where I was living at the time that this started to open back up for me. I had been cleaning for years, and then I took a homeopathic remedy that a friend who was studying homeopathy gave me. It was a constitutional remedy, so it was strong. And suddenly I was just like getting contacted by all these beings, and I'm like, what in the heck is going on, you know? And I went back to her and I said, hello, is this connected? And she goes, oh, one of the side effects was psychosis. And I just went, well, thank you. Psychosis. Well, at least I know I'm not crazy. I know enough to know I'm not crazy. That's good. They're not going to put me in a funny farm. I'll just be quiet about this and find the right people to talk to. Because when I was house cleaning, I'd be going into someone's house, and I'd been there before, and suddenly now I'm feeling these entities, this dark energy coming out of the corners of the ceiling, kind of going, oh my God, no. I'm cleaning this place and getting out of here.
Clean you out.
Well, I didn't know how to do it at the time. So that's a large part of what prompted my research and my desire to find the people that I knew would be high quality and I would feel confident working with. So your higher self, obviously you're always connected to your higher self, otherwise you'd be dead. So that's always available. How you connect and talk with your higher self, though, I think is pretty open to personal experience. Some people hear a loving voice and don't know that it's their own self. Because we don't always talk to ourselves in that sort of way when we're in this dimensional reality, kind of forget we're spirit. So oftentimes when you talk with your higher self, then you will get the beloved voice or the my dear one or that kind of thing. We talked about people of the Light Brotherhood, Ascended Masters, and cosmic beings. So by cosmic beings, I mean people who haven't incarnated so much on Earth, and some of those are the Deva kind of beings, so there's kind of a play here between the cosmic beings and the nature beings. But some of the cosmic beings could be like the being of the sun, the spirit of the sun, and the being of other planets, Gaia, the being of our planet. Those are the ones that I'm most familiar with. There might be others out there who know of them, and then people of other planets, like I mentioned before too. So Ascended Masters, other people, other names you might know would be like Saint Germain and Saint Michael, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene. You know, they're usually names that we recognize, and I have been in literature, I've been in the history of people for quite a while. And then there are people whose names you're not going to recognize, and that was one of the interesting things for me getting started was these other names started coming through, and I'm like, and who are you? And how do I know you? Yeah, you know, and that's one of the things I think is extremely important. It's very, very important to know who you're talking to. Again, we're going back to that quality issue, the discernment issue. And so if I get a name, then I check with, and I don't know them, then I check with my other guides. Say, okay, who is this person? Do you know them? The people that I know and trust and have discernment with already. I'm like, do you know this person? Oh yeah, he's at the Light Brotherhood. He works at the da 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 da. You know, oh yeah, she used to, you know, she does this kind of thing, and I'm like, okay, fine. Oh yeah, this is an aspect of yourself on another dimension. I'm like, it is? Oh, okay. That's nice to know. And, you know, those are the kinds of things. So if you're just starting, I would suggest starting, unless you have somebody that you're working with that can give you a name and explain to you who that person is and why you're connected. If you're not doing that, then I would start with someone who's with a name that you recognize, that you know from history and there's a relationship in the human community, you know, like Sai Baba or Kuan Yin or Mother Mary or Saint Germain or, you know, somebody, a name that is known. The archangels are always safe, or any of the archangels. Michael, Uriel, Metatron, Gabrielle, a bunch more that I don't remember right now. Yeah. And again, you're going to find information, like if you search the internet, you're going to find information that I call more astral level kinds of information. It's like, how do I say this? There's different frequency bands and different realities within different frequency bands. And personally, I want to work with the people that I know are of the highest quality and of the highest frequency bands that my body, mind, being can integrate and talk with. So you'll get stories about the archangels coming in and helping this and this a person and being involved in this and this thing going on Earth and being involved in this and that. And that's probably totally fine and totally cool and probably accurate, but maybe not. And just watch the information you get. See if it makes sense to you. If they, and feel the resonance of the energy of what they're talking about. You know, like the archetypal kinds of things that we work with on the earth realm level are very valid. They're very useful. The stories are great. They help us learn and discern and learn and explore qualities of ourselves. And ancient peoples used to do a lot of ritual with the archetypal things. That's where a lot of theater came from. So I'm not putting it down by any means. It's just there's a level above that. There's a level beyond that. And if you want to work at that archetypal level, that's wonderful. But know that also there's more than that. That there's of a higher quality. Here's an example, which is kind of one of my more interesting experiences. It's just a funny thing that happened. I had been talking, so shortly after we moved back here to Lummi Island in Washington State, to our lovely place called Tree Frog Farm. And I was doing some communication with some of my guides that I work with regularly. And I was feeling like this insistence from outside of our communication, this insistence somebody really wanted in, somebody really wanted to talk. And finally, after I finished, I said, okay, who are you? What's going on? And it was like I had just stepped into Alice in Wonderland. It was like this person from a high court, from a king, came walking down this pathway, and she's like, finally, I've been trying to get your attention. And so-and-so and so was lost, and we want you to help find him. I'm like, say what? I'm I'm like, hello? And so like I opened back my communication with my other guys and again like, do I need to talk to this person? And they said no. No.
Like a drama queen.
Yeah, really. And I was like I said, you know, like, I'm sorry, I know you waited, and I know you've taken your time to come find me. And yes, I am open to some of this kind of thing, but this is not something I need to do, and I really cannot help you. And she's like, huh? And turned around and just drove off. Oh, and I was just like laughing so hard. I'm like, oh my gosh. So sometimes it can be funny. But again, you know who you're talking to, and if you don't, call in to people you trust and find out. But that's an astral level interaction right there, for sure. If you are hearing something that sounds like the way you would talk to yourself, and it's has a tone to it that's not respectful, then either you're just hearing your own self or you're not clear. If you know that it's a being of high quality that you're connecting with, that won't be clear. They won't talk to you like that. And they won't take you talking to them like that either. I've had that experience. Where I've been in a bad mood and was kind of having a hard day and would just talk back to them, and they're just going to feel just received because they're not going to be in that frequency either. The choice of words, the sentence structure, the cadence, the way the words flow. Again, that you'll know it's not like the way you normally think about something or the way you normally speak it or language it. As an example, when I was making the Outrageous Rose essence, the information was coming through about working through the corpus callosum, and I'm like, could you spell that? Could you spell that for me, please? Because I don't know what you're talking about. So I have to go look it up. and they did. They spelled it, and I wrote it down, and I went and looked it up, and it's the bundle of nerves that connects the two hemispheres of the left and right sides of the cerebral cortex. And it's a huge energy exchange and information exchange that goes through there. So that was one word, anyway. And also, when I was beginning to write the definitions for essences, my inclination would be, for this you to use this you would need this and this and this, or for you would use this essence when this and this happened, or for this and this kind of a thing. And they're like, they wanted to retrain the way that I language and experience things so that it would be more energetically received and not just words. And so things were coming through like, out of the deep of the darkest part of my soul arises, you know, and I'm like, whoa, I don't write like this. You know, so for me to even think something like that was like, you know, like when I was in high school and we did poetry or we did Shakespeare, I was lost. I was just totally lost. I couldn't get a joke, didn't get it. And so for me to be writing something like that, you know, I made some progress, and obviously I could at least tell a joke and hear a joke. Most of the time. But for me to be writing in that kind of floral, poetic, you know, sort of way, it was just like, well, this is really not me. I know that one for sure. So that's another way, you know, to tell. And we kind of also already touched on the tone of voice and the attitude. So those are some ways that I've experienced. Anybody else? Do you experience anything different than that?
Oh, yeah. I have multiple guides that I work with, especially when I do energy work, but one, for whatever reason, Guinevere, I call her Gwynnie, she's always with me, and when I have other people do energy work with me, they'll say, there's someone named Gwen with you. and it's Guinevere, and I don't know why, but she's been with me since I was a child, so she always stays partnered with me, you know, for some reason. And then I have a few. I have like a native elder that works with me in different ones, and when I do energy work with people, my guides are with me, but then I call forth theirs as well, so that the energy works together to be stronger for healing.
For years I had dolphins come into meditations, but they stayed in their dolphin bodies. And
Nice.
I've never actually heard words from them,
No, that's me neither.
It's always
Yeah.
a feeling frequency.
And that's another part of it. Is I mentioned in here is it's like we're learning to translate.
Yeah.
So it can be language. I just tend to be auditory. I'm auditory and kinesthetic. I'm not so visual, but a little.
I get the visions and I hear them, but then I can feel them too. Like I can see,
Yeah.
I can see them all sitting with me, like physically see them and see like the colors of their aura or like the molecular patterning on them. You know, it's like they come together to sit there and like vibrate their frequency and stuff, and then I can hear like a full language that comes through that I'm able to scribe or something like that as they're communicating.
Right. But sometimes it is a feeling, or just a knowing.
That's
Yeah.
That's
I wish I
right.
got
A
words.
symbol.
I wish I got
Yeah,
words.
a symbol, a color.
Yeah.
Words sound so nice and easy. Just dial it up, switch, ask.
It would be nice. That's what I
That
was
sounds
thinking.
so clear cut. That's why. Whereas just letting it, this knowing, it just happens. But it's so nebulous. You're not. I mean, it's so clear, but it's so unstructured
Right.
that it's kind of. You can question yourself.
Well, and I think you can let your mind get in the way of the translation, and I think that's where the
And the
practice comes
sabotage.
in, and the sabotage, where really I want to find clarity is being able to not let my own mind get in the way of what really is trying to come through, because we'll judge it or put our own perspective upon it, and then we turn it somehow totally unconsciously.
And create this illusion of separateness.
Yes.
Where we know the truth is, it's all connected.
Right.
So the purpose is to remove those veils without getting caught in lower astral and being clear.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Just dial it up, is what I hear you say. Just
Dial it up, definitely. Dial up the frequency and the
intention.
intention. Intention. Huge.
Intention.
Is that really?
Intention is huge.
Ask
huge,
and ye
huge,
shall receive.
Huge. Huge.
Just be careful what you
I think
ask.
that's the biggest part. Is I say this a lot. You have to be very clear in what you're asking, because I feel like there's a large sense of humor in working with guides and
They
higher
can be at
spirits.
times.
They have a interesting sense of humor, and so you have to be extremely specific in what you're asking for. Otherwise, like always, we're given what we're meant to be given, but there can be a little bit of a mischievous undertone to it as well.
I just think we're, like the entertainment of the gods. I always imagine, like sitting around like, well, what did your person do today? You went the
Well, from my experience with it, like I was saying, the people of the quality will never make you or ask you to do anything that is dangerous or really not healthy or in any way beneficial for you. With that said, sometimes we are too reticent to move forward in a way that we are really ready to move forward. So there might be a little nudge or a joke played on you or something, to kind of move that and to get past that sense of hesitancy and step into something.
Which explains so many things in life.
Yeah.
It just happened, it's like you look back and you're like, oh, I was being nudged because I refused to make the steps on my own.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
Pay attention and hit the 2x4.
Exactly.
Let's see. I want to go back to our list of guides. Okay. we haven't really talked about ancestor spirits, animal spirits, and nature beings. So I just want to bring that forward. Um, the ancestor spirits, like when I'm doing healing work, there is an ancestor spirit that comes in. That just started recently, actually, and she comes in mostly when there's pretty dark energy that needs to be released from somebody. And I've been told that she was on my mother's side of the family 10 generations ago, and was actually a former incarnation of this same soul part that is incarnated as Diana right now. So I guess I need to explain that a little more. In my experience, each individual person is not the whole soul. Like the whole soul being doesn't come down and incarnate on earth all at the same time. That we're so much more multifaceted than that. And some people say life stream or soul stream or aspect, all the terms that I've heard used. And so I'm aware of several aspects of myself that operate in other planets, as well as in the nature realm. And being a human being here, and sometimes we're all together, and it's very interesting. But I also find that sort of comforting in a way, because then I know if me as Diana is screwing up, that my whole soul isn't in jeopardy, if you want to say it that way. I mean, right. It's like, okay, another lesson learned. Let's go back and relate it to the bigger picture and try over again here and see what else to learn. So for me, being on the earth plane, it's a school and an opportunity to experience and learn a lot of different things to advance my understanding on many levels. My being the bigger picture understanding on many levels. So, with that said, this ancestor spirit will come in sometimes when I'm doing healing work with my guides and with a person. Usually, sometimes here and sometimes remote. High-tech shaman over the phone here. It's really, it blows me away. I set up my table as if the person's in front of me and get on the phone with them and start working. And it's like, well, why not? I mean, everything's connected. It's all. I'm working energetically remote when I'm talking to people about flower essences on the phone, so why not be doing energy work on that way too? It's just and it's as if their light body is here with me and we're working on it. Animal spirits. I started working with animal spirits, 10 years or more ago, when I took some classes through the Foundation for Shamanic Studies and journeyed in class to receive an animal spirit guide. And since then, several others have come through. And then I also work with clients to assist them to locate, find, refine, find again their animal spirits that may be guides for them. And let me say this. My experience is that the animal spirits operate at a different frequency band than the Ascended Masters do, which is not good or bad, it's different. And very helpful at times. Like when I know I'm going to be in a place that's really uncomfortable for me, I call on one of my animal spirits to help me be sure I'm in my body and grounded, and I've got my claws in the pavement. Like if I'm driving and I got to go someplace that I don't know, and I don't know the area, and I don't know the language, and I don't know the signage, and then I want my claws in the ground as I'm moving to make sure I'm there. Or icy roads. I have this thing about icy roads. So I always put the claws into the ice, and then we're okay.
Which animal spirit helps you with icy roads? Yeah, how it articulated?
Jaguar.
Mm-hmm.
there's a tradition in how do I say this? In many indigenous peoples' shamanic traditions, that you don't tell who your animal spirit guides are, because you don't want another shaman to go and steal them.
Or your true name too.
Or yes, or your true name. Which I don't think any of us really are using our true name here. So it's okay, I can say that, and it's okay.
You can give your power away.
Yeah, right. I'm not concerned about that. I don't think anybody, because Jaguar can work with a bunch of different people and still work with me, it's okay. But that was one of their things, and that was also a little bit of hesitancy of me not speaking the name, but it's not a big deal. The fairies and nature beings I work with like constantly, and the devas. I give offerings to the nature beings of our land several times a week. Not because I'm see, a lot of what we're talking about is old school, new school, in my way of understanding and thinking about these things. It's like the lower frequency, the lower energy way of relating out of fear to people and animals and beings, and the way now of raising our own vibrations and working more at that respectful light energy sort of level with the nature beings. And so, like, I'm not afraid to go out and go, this one's going to snatch me and take me to the underground, I'll never get back out. You know, or I have to give them an offering because they're going to get mad and play tricks on me if I don't do it. You know, that's not the way in which I'm working. We're developing a relationship. We're developing a partnership. And so I give them these offerings so that they can take that energy to use on the land and help keep the land healthy and clear and safe. And it's amazing. I mean, I've had people walk in here, even indigenous peoples, walk in here and go, wow, something's really different here. Like there was one of the times we were open at the artist studio tour, and this family came in from over on the Lummi Nation, and there was like 3 generations, and Grandma was sitting down, and after a while she goes, you know, nobody's fighting. Nobody's arguing. And I just said, yes. And it was, you know, apparently a big thing in the family. So this is why I developed relationship with the nature beings here. I mean, I can do some things. I can tend the gardens, and I can, you know, put the nice things around the yard and all that. But on my own, I don't create the feeling, the energetic space, the quality of energy frequency that is here. It's a relationship. And so in that relationship, like if you need to take down a tree, we talk to the tree, first of all, to see if there's a tree spirit, which I seem to always have this knowing of how to do that. I guess it's probably my Celtic background. English, Irish, whatever, all that put in there together. And so if there's a tree spirit, then either that tree is not taken down, or if it really has to be, we talk to it and tell it why and explain the whole thing and see if there's another option for that tree spirit, or sometimes they're just ready to leave. And we talk to the deva of the property, the whole land here, and that carries the imprint, the understanding of what Tree Frog Farm is on all levels. The land itself, the vegetation, the business, those of us who live here, the interaction with the nature, everything. And then we talked to the fairies. And so when I was we were newly here, and we did need to take down quite a few trees at one time out of the alder growth so we could get some sunlight. It was on the south side, blocking a lot of the sun. I went through that whole process, and like everything's cool. And then at one point, the guy who was felling the trees was like, "Well, I can't do that one because this one's in the way. Can we switch them? We need to take this one down and not that one." So I checked. There was no tree spirits involved, and I checked with the deva. Is that going to affect anything? And I got, no, it's okay. So I said, okay, fine, go ahead. And from that point on, everything started to go awry. The trees were falling in these funny ways. One landed so that it came within feet of the house. And afterward, this fairy was just like, I mean, and I don't often hear them individually because I basically just work with them, and I don't hear them so much by name because I just work with them by what they do mostly. But this one guy gave me his name, and he's like, "I am so tired, and it was just so much work. We didn't know what you were doing and everything, and I'm so sorry. We couldn't just get it any better." And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I didn't think to tell you guys that we changed the plan. And that's when I learned for sure that everybody has to be communicated to in this whole range of what's going on. So, like if I'm working in a garden and I need to move a plant or plant a plant or harvest something, I talk to the plant, I talk to the dealer of the garden, I talk to the fairies that are taking care of them, and I'm going, okay, are we all on the same page now? Do we all know what's going on? It's a really, I think, unfortunate and sad thing that's happened in our culture, that we've lost this connection to that we're in that we've lost. Right.
We're the one that does that.
Right. That we've lost the connection to our relationship in nature.
Right. We're the one that does that.
Right. And
that we've lost the connection to our relationship in nature.
We are the
as
multidimensional
a part
connection.
of that, and
The
that
human beings
just like
are
you're
the
saying,
multidimensional.
we are the multidimensional.
If I talk to an ascended master,
The human
and
beings are
that
the
person is on a
multidimensional.
particular wavelength.
If I talk to an ascended master,
They don't
that person is on a particular
from there
wavelength.
see what's
They
going
don't.
on here. But if I invite
there.
that person into
See.
my fields
What's going on?
and they're with me,
But if I invite that
And
person
they're looking
into my field,
kind of through my eyes,
and they're with
then
me,
they see and they understand.
and they're looking kind of through my
in
eyes,
that way.
then they see and they understand and they can interact in that way.
And the fairy realm is definitely at a different different frequency.
And the fairy realm
I
is definitely at a
rarely.
different frequency.
I haven't until
I
recently been invited
rarely-
to even approach the
I
entry
haven't
into
until recently been
fairies'
invited to
fields.
even approach the
And
entry into
When I
the
did
fairy
approach,
real land.
afterwards my whole
Yeah.
body was pretty shattered.
When I
It was
did
energetic.
approach,
It was really
afterwards
different.
my whole body was pretty shattered, energetically shattered.
So-
it was really different.
We can, but I do work with them all the time, and I can
So,
embody
We can,
the
but I
energy
do work with them all
of
the time, and I can embody.
the beings that I know who are
Energy
aspects of
of-
myself on other dimensions, even in the earth dimension.
The beings that I know who are aspects of myself on other dimensions.
Oh my gosh, is this making sense to people?
Yes. Yeah. I actually, that's
Oh my gosh, is this making
a
sense?
question.
to people?
Yeah.
In one of your
I actually-
emails, you had talked about
I had a
helping
question
straighten
in
out
that,
the ley
in
lines.
one of your emails,
Working
you
with
had
your
talked about
fairies.
helping straighten out the ley
I was
lines,
releasing blockages in the ley
working
lines.
with your
Is there,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd like to,
I was releasing blockages
I
in the
mean,
ley
most of my
lines.
work's
Is
more
there-
general.
I
so
mean, I'd like to-
here and how does one
I
get
mean, most of
more
my work's
direct
more general.
I mean,
so
I'd like to
here
volunteer to be more
How
helpful.
does one
Trying to
get
let in,
more
so how does
directly
one
involved? I mean, I'd like to
practice
volunteer to be more
invitation?
helpful. Trying to let in, so
Well,
how
you
does
just
one
Okay.
practice?
And
Well, you just did.
you might connect with your
And,
Dr. Beings of your
You
land,
might connect with your,
and just and again,
Dr. Beings of your land,
I'd like to be of assistance.
and just,
working with
and
lands.
again say that, I
And
like
then
to
you'll
be
get
of
directed.
assistance in working with ley lines.
There's
And
a
then
couple that
get
run
directed.
through our property, and there's others that
There's,
run through other parts of the island.
A couple that run through our property,
So what
and
does
there's
that
others
feel
that
like to
run
you?
through the
What
parts
do
of the
you-
island.
I feel it in my feet, in my body. It's like
What
I
does
can,
that feel like to you? What
Okay,
do you-
here we go.
I feel
Another
it in my
section
feet,
here
in
is
my body.
tools.
It's like
I'm going to start talking about pendulums,
another section in
and
here
then we'll get
is
into
cool.
theology.
I'm gonna start talking about pendulums, and then we'll get into
So, when I'm getting information for myself or for the land, gardens, that kind of thing, I work with this pendulum. And it's telling me yes, it's accurate. And one of the ways that I find where the ley lines are is I walk and my pendulum tells me yes, or it tells me no if I'm off the track of the pendulum, and of the ley line, if I'm off the track of the ley line. So I will just walk around, you know, I just kind of let my feet feel it, and then if I'm on a ley line, just pretend I'm on a ley line. Okay, so then I go like that, and then I get yes, and then we're like, okay, now I'm off the ley line over here, and I'm getting a no. That's how I do it.
Okay.
That's how I feel it. I'm kind of like dowsing in a way, but I'm using my pendulum.
Okay.
It's a ley line, I'm sorry.
Ley, L-E-Y, L-E-Y, ley line. It's like a energy meridian line for the earth. And there's major ones that are, I don't think the ones that run through here are of the hugely major ones, but they're definitely important because we've done a lot of work on them. And one that runs through here runs through Lummi Island, which is another one of the group of islands in this part of Puget Sound. And I have a friend that lives over there, and on her property, the ferries there and the ferries here are coordinating on the work with the ley lines. So I've gone over there a few times, and she and I have done some work with her ferries, and then I come back over here and do the work over here with my ferries. And sometimes it's crystals, and sometimes it's essences, and sometimes it's chant, and sometimes it's just acknowledgement.
Okay. Just feels like there's so much shifting on the earth right now.
There is a lot.
Sometimes it just feels like some of the other dimensions are getting a little tired or something. I mean, I'm here, you know, it's like if we're not doing our part, you know, like we could maybe be more helpful.
We could be more helpful,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
And that's, again, one of the sad things that's gotten lost in our culture is that part of the function, if you will, part of the joy of being human is working with the nature beings and working with the earth.
Is working
And
with the
that
nature beings
respect
and working
and that
with the
way
earth.
of creating harmony and
And
balance.
that respect and that way
Yes.
of creating harmony and
Some
balance.
indigenous peoples that live out in the woods or the
Some
forests,
indigenous people
if they see
live
that
out in the
a
woods or the forest,
pathway is starting
if they
to
see
form,
that
they will
a
walk a different way. So
pathway
you
is
don't
starting
create
to
a pathway.
form, they will walk a different way. So
You
they
want
don't
to
create
be
a
like
pathway.
the animals and just, you know, move
You
through.
want to be like the animals.
What do we
and
do?
just,
We
you
go
know,
these huge
move
humongous
through.
roads through it.
What do? We go these huge humongous roads.
And pavers, right.
And pavers.
Sorry, off the soapbox, but
So anyway.
yeah, definitely. The more assistance that we can
Yeah,
give,
definitely. The more assistance that we can give
and being heartfully open to
and being heartfully open
direction in ways that
to
we
the
can help.
direction and ways that we can help.
I'd like to do a whole class on that.
I'd like to do a whole class
I
on
have a
that.
question about
I have a question
specific guy.
about,
Is this something that you decide guy want to choose
that
and say I
you
want
decide is you
this
want to
and
choose
to do
and say
and
I
then
want.
do you end up getting sort of like the reception like yeah that person is
Do you end up getting sort of like a reception like yeah that person
or is it something
is
that you're tapping into and they're already
or is
here,
it
already
something that you're tapping
and you're
into
opening
and they're
your,
already they're already
you know,
present and you're opening
everything
your
up to receive
you know
them who've been with you
everything
the
up
whole
to
life?
receive
Or can I just
them
be like
who've
I
been
do
with
want
you
to
the
work
whole
with
life. Or
Kuan
can I
Yin,
just be like
just
I
as an
do want to
example.
work
She
with
hasn't
Kuan
necessarily
Yin
been
just
guided
as an
me
example.
since
She hasn't
been
necessarily been a
But
guide in my life since I
is it that easy to just
But
pick and kind of pick and
Is it
choose?
that easy to just be like, I want to pick and choose. I want, you know,
To know
first
that's
time.
the reason.
You know,
I haven't.
That's my
so-
team saying yes.
That's my team saying
Yes, yeah, and she has been.
yes, and she has been with you. You just haven't been consciously aware of it.
See, now, so what I'm doing is I'm making eye contact with you and I'm scanning. And
See, now,
my
so what
body
I'm doing is I'm making eye contact with you and I'm
scanning.
scanning,
And then my
I'm letting
team's
my
coming
body
in
and
and corroborating and
is
together we're
saying,
saying
and then my
yes.
team's
She's
coming in
been
and
with you,
corroborating
yes.
and together we're saying, yes,
Yeah.
she's been with you and yes, you can
And does
work.
that work? generally, is that sort of how you
And does
approach
that
it?
work?
Where you're like, I'm thinking this person,
Generally,
and
is
you
that
kind
sort
of
of how
get the
you approach
signs
it,
and
where you're like, I'm
the
thinking of this person,
sensations
and
that
That's
get the
often the
signs,
case,
the sensations that.
That's often the case, yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes, like I said, I'll bring through names of people that aren't
Sometimes, like I
familiar
said, I'll bring through names
for
of people that
clients
aren't
and
familiar for clients, and
for one person I brought through somebody who's
for one person I brought through somebody who's being that lives in the sun.
very big presence.
Very
Very big presence.
Very big one.
Very big presence.
So that would be something that she wouldn't be familiar with, but
So that would be something that she wouldn't be familiar with, but that person was
along
really
with along with it. That guy was really in line
with the client. That guy was really in line with the client.
So I guess I'll just stay on pendulum for a minute here.
So I guess I'll just stay on pendulum for a minute here. Bouncing around.
Working with the pendulum or working with kinesiology, I think
Working with the
really,
pendulum
really
and working with
helpful.
kinesiology,
Helped me
I think it
tremendously
really,
to
really helpful.
gain
They've helped me
confidence and
tremendously
discernment.
to gain confidence and discernment.
So the
So
main thing is to
the
have yes,
main
no
thing is
questions.
to
So the
have
answer can be back
yes, no
at least
questions.
to begin.
So the answer can come back
To get
yes, no.
really
At least
clear
to
answers.
begin with.
If you start doing multiple
To get
choice
really
questions, you're not
clear
going to get
answers. If you start doing multiple choice
or
questions, you're not going to
compounded sentence questions, and then
Or
you're not going to get
compounded
a clear answer. They would be broken down into very specific. Okay, like would it be possible for me to work with Kwanya? Now, another way that this would not work is, I've been thinking about Kuan Yin and Saint Germain and Sai Baba, and I just don't know which. What do you think? Which would be the better one? You're not going to get it. You're going to go, can't tell ya. That's one example. So I do this or this or this or this. And another thing about working with the pendulum and working with kinesiology is if you're emotionally attached to the outcome. If you like, it's probably not going to be a very effective tool if it's like, should I leave my husband? Oh my God, I don't know if I want to do this or not, but I think I need to. Should I leave him? It's just like, forget it. You're not going to get a clear answer. It's going to be coming from your own self, and you're not going to get it. You're not going to get a clear response there. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I was just going to invite you to higher your voice just a bit since we're having the ring pick up a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
What about the mental body? I have a problem with a pendulum. Basically, it sort of tells me I can find stuff with it, like if I set my keys where I didn't know, but I don't actually trust it that it's spirit working with, my guides working with, because it tells me what's on my mind. I almost feel like, because I can think yes and think no, and it, and it does what it does, but dousing it, do better with copper rods or something.
Well, that's fine. Use whatever works better.
But how do you? I was wondering. I know so many people that get really good results working with a pendulum.
I do great with it. I'm used to it.
Yeah,
but it is true. You can overpower it with your mind. So you have to go in with clear intention and no expectations, and then, like Diana said, you're going to get a clear answer
the no
every
expectations would sort of shut off your emotional body, and I was wondering if there's like flick for the mental body, so it doesn't like take charge of it. Because I'm always, I guess it's a trust matter too.
Well, part of it is the charge, the emotional charge that goes with the mental. Okay. If the yes or no is emotionally charged, then it's going to sway what's being said. If it's just like mindless chatter, it doesn't really sway unless you put a lot of focus or attention on it.
It's being clear, disciplined with myself.
Yeah. And
yeah.
and I've been, let me just say this as far as pendulums. This is the one that I work with my clients. This is a citrine, and this one's, I think, blue apatite. And so they have different functions. The quality of the stone is different in how they, like this one doesn't want to work with my clients, and this one does. This one doesn't want to work with the land, and this one does.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is, if you'll notice, you've watched me work this with my right hand, but if you watch me work it with my left hand, it's not as strong because I'm right-handed dominant. So I can get some answers still. But you see how this one's spinning? That's for a yes. And you see how this is spinning for a yes?
Mm-hmm.
See how much wider it is? So it's just because I'm right-hand dominant and I haven't practiced with my left hand. So that's another thing to watch is which hand you're using and how the energy flow. And it's connecting the energy flow through the arms, but also a bigger area of the fields, more so than kinesiology is what I've found. So for me, if I can't get a clear response just by hearing or through kinesiology, if I'm not getting a clear response, then I go to my pendulum, or I mean, I might use it anyway, but it's always my backup to go to my pendulum if I need a clear response. And if I can't, I get this sort of confused feeling or this sense of, oh, it doesn't feel right or it doesn't sound right, then I know I can even get a clear response with my pendulum, and it's time to go to take a nap. Or take some of my brain essence, or go eat, or, just give it up for a while, and then come back to it, It's just one of those things.
Can you make your own? I mean, do you suggest making your own, or do you?
Good. I haven't.
Yeah, okay.
Well, one of the things that I have used, I just had someone gave me this little prism, a glass prism,
Oh.
and I had a little piece of string on it, and that worked.
It works, right.
But
I've known many people that took like a gold ring or a special ring that was clear,
energetically clear.
energetically clear, and you can clean it. But just put, thread and loop it so that it is in the middle.
It needs to be balanced. That's what
It needs to be balanced.
I could use my car keys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
if you're in a
I use
pinch.
this necklace
If
a
you're in a
lot.
pinch,
Where
yeah.
I hold the chain up and I use the necklace, but I have one that I've had for many, many years that's a sterling silver yatra that's just on a piece of twine, and it has a glass bead on it that helps keep it balanced, and it works great. And that's been one I've used for probably 15 years.
So I want to mention the kinesiology a little bit more since I've talked about it more since I've mentioned it. Most people, when they hear kinesiology, they think about muscle testing like this way, like a chiropractor or some even dentists will do it, or naturopaths. They'll muscle test people for minerals or vitamins or whatever they're checking for. But there's also ways that you can do it with your hands. And as soon as I found out about my hand stuff, I was like, this is so cool. The way that, there's a lot of different ways. You can do it this way. If it's yes, it stays strong. If it's no, it breaks open. You can do it this way. If it's yes, it stays strong. If it's no, it breaks open. You can do it this way. That just gets me. That one really, really gets me.
And you have to be on.
I haven't seen
Does
that
not.
one before.
Yeah.
Well,
So
you can do it right now.
yeah. So the way I feel it is, if it's yes, it's smooth, and if it's no, it's sticky. It's like your biochemistry just instantly shifts.
Oh, wow. But sometimes it won't do it at all if your whatever, or even your body can change it a little bit. But first thing in the morning, or there's certain times, and you'll ask for a yes and a no, and get what your personal thing is. You have hand motion; it's a little different.
Yeah, right.
Things like that.
Yeah, if you're doing hand motion, it's probably not the best way to get a clear reading doing that. But the way that I like the best is I use my index finger like my arm, and I use the pad on the middle finger on the the fingernail of the index finger as the practitioner's hand on the arm. And I ask my yes/no questions in the circuit. Instead of being in the shoulder, the circuit's in the knuckle. And so it's yes and no, or yes and no. Sometimes it goes like this or it goes like that. And since when I'm working with clients and I'm doing checking like 120 essences to see what I want to put into their blend, then I can scan with my left hand and go over each one and go, yes, yes, no, 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 yes, yes, no, 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 yes, yes, no, 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 no. You know. And it goes really fast. Where if you know, if I'm doing this, I have to touch everyone and then do this, and then touch that other one and do that, and touch everyone and then do that, you know.
And it's very subtle. You know, so if people are around, you don't have to be like,
Oh, right.
it's,
Yeah, you can just like
It's
in
private.
the
You're in the
store.
store.
I'm doing it all the time in the store.
yeah.
You walk into the Hubba section and look at this whole like wall full of bottles and jars, and I'm just like, ugh, okay. You know, I need some kind of supplement here, and I'll just kind of like, oh, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you. Working.
So do you ever find that you get almost overwhelmed when you're in like super supplements or something? You know, there's so much incoming data that it's hard to focus and get a clear response.
Sometimes if I know that I need to go into a place where there's going to be a lot of like super supplements, or there's a lot of energy coming at me, or if I'm like when I'm at a event and there's other people around me talking and I have to focus, and I've kind of learned how to pull my fields in and
Dial it down.
yeah, dial it down is one way to say it, or filter just kind of what I need to focus on. So, you know, I might ask for assistance from the clerk to point me in the right direction and go, okay, now I just need to focus on this one group of shelves right here, and then I blank everything out and just focus there.
So intention and utilizing whatever tools to help you.
Right. Right. Well, I was just going to say, we're going through a lot of different things really fast in this class. So I'm hoping what we're doing is giving people information on where they might want to go deeper, you know, and learn more. Where are we on time?
We're at 2:22.
So we can do some of that in depth today. Also, I want to field more questions from people and make sure that anybody that's here or online with us can get a response to whatever they're thinking about, wondering about. Do you have anybody else over there?
Nobody's asking questions right now. No.
Okay. If you want to have a question answered, just type it in. Anybody else in the room with anything else to add or say? Or?
I find, like, with kinesiology, something that I do is I get really centered with myself, and I just stand with my feet together, and if I'm asking a yes/no question, my body goes forward, it's yes. If it goes back, it's no. If it goes side to side, it's maybe. And so I don't have to have, like, a physical tool. I can just get centered and quiet for just a minute, and I ask a lot of questions. I've actually been asked in public before, "Are you okay?" Because it looks like I'm going to faint or something. You know? And I'm like, "Oh, fine. I'm just checking something out," you know. But yeah, so that's a tool I use where I don't have to take my necklace off or look for a pendulum. I can like get quiet with myself and find the answers that way.
Right, and some people call that body pendulum. And
Yes.
I thank you for bringing that up, because I hadn't remembered to say that.
It's so accessible.
It's so
It is.
accessible.
It's easy.
It's
always
really
there.
easy. So, like, if you're just standing and you can kind of feel your center and feel yourself grounded into the floor, feel your feet, and then ask a question that's yes. Generally, people will sway forward if it's yes, and generally people will sway backwards if it's no. And sometimes if you're not sure, you'll just kind of either stand there and do nothing, or side to side.
And if it's really yes or really no, you'll
Whoa!
Wait
Wait a minute,
Yeah.
Right. So
It's like, sometimes I get, like, it almost feels like through my heart. And, you know, it's like, so, you know, I almost feel like I'm following it, and then it'll get me, like, to the area, or, you know, and then I'm kind of like, okay, what now? But and that's getting more particular and stuff. But it really feels like so physical.
Right.
Like following your heart. It was just like what?
Yes.
It's amazing how physical it feels.
It can, and I really thank you for bringing that up. When I was first working with the nature beings here at the land, it was like for the first 2 years we were back here. Well, John had the land, and then we met in Colorado, and then we moved back here together. So it was new for me that he'd had the land for a while. And I was beginning to develop a relationship with the nature beings, and they were trying to understand how well I could hear them, how well I could interact with them, and did they want to trust me? And so they were training me as well. And it was just like, and I would get this, what I was calling, mostly more for my solar plexus, for me. And I was feeling like this magnetic pull, like, come over here. I'm like, okay, what's over there? Am I talking to a plant, or am I talking to a fairy, or whatever, And it's like, no, I'll come over here. Like, okay, let's go over there now. Let's see what's going on. And there was one time when they sent me out into the woods, way back to all this other part of the woods, and through this area that we had set aside. It was like for the nature beings only. We would never go there. We had like roped off. It's just only their place. And they sent me through the corner of that, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to go through here, and I'm coming out, and I get out to this one spot, and I'm standing behind this plant. And I look up, and I'm like, it's right on the edge of the clearing where I started. And I'm like, hey guys, I could have just turned around and walked right over to this plant. And what was this all about? And they were like,
obedience.
Well, we just wanted to see if you could hear us, if you'd take direction.
On the journey.
The journey. I'm like, okay, fine, thank you. Does it sound like I can do it? Okay. Yeah, sometimes they're a little funny. All right, let's see where else we want to go here. I'm going to go step back just a little bit to this point of not clear enough to understand what you're receiving. So, these are I have a list of 5 things here that I've experienced, and I'm very happy to hear if other people have had other experiences along with this. If I'm not aligned to hear a particular frequency band and I'm trying to get information from that band, then it doesn't work. As an example, if I'm trying to talk to the fairies, but I'm in a communication situation where I've been talking to the Ascended Masters and I haven't made that switch, then I'm not going to get a clear information from what the fairies are trying to tell me. I need to make that switch so that I'm resonating at a different band and I can hear that different tone or that different language. And I'm just thinking, how do you tell people to do that? So it seems, for me, it's just kind of like attention and intention to focus on, okay, now I want to talk to the fairies and I want to hear what they're saying and sink down into kind of like my lower part of my body and just say, okay, now I'm here. Now I can think and hear and relate at that level. Or one of the things, if I'm in a configuration to where I'm working with people for my my clients, and it's very specifically designed to be working with my clients. And then I walk back over to the office, and I'm getting questions about orders and something that needs to happen on a product development thing. And I'm like, I can't tell you. You know, it's like, give me a moment, I need to shift, and then I can talk to you about this. Because I cannot bring through a clear answer. And it kind of almost gives me a headache. It's kind of like, okay, trying to force this is not going to work. Or I'll sit down and I'll forget, or I'll just not pay attention that I'm still connected to these people, and I'll start taking care of an ego problem, and suddenly I'm going, you know, this is really not a good thing to be doing. Because I can't think what I need to type, and I'm feeling weird. So shift, make the shift. So I'm aligned with whatever it is I'm doing, the frequency and the function of what I'm doing. And then we also talked about emotionally attached to the outcome. So again, anytime you're trying to receive any kind of information, whether you're using a pendulum or kinesiology or not, if you're emotionally attached to the outcome, even if you're trying to sit with yourself and just get a really clear feeling from your higher self, if you're really emotionally attached to the outcome, or it's not going to come through clearly. Energetically jumbled, we've had a lot of that going on with the different frequencies shifting and the land shifting, and you know, the tectonic plates shifting, and I feel it really strongly in my body. I think other people do. Some people don't know that they're feeling it strongly in their body. They just don't know what's wrong and don't know why. So, but if you're not energetically aligned with yourself, which, I mean, how do I say this? A lot of people live that way. I lived that way for many, many years. Very rarely being energetically aligned in any kind of alignment within my life. And it was normal. So to then experience energetic alignment and being able to work with the guides, then you become more familiar with what that feels like and can tell when you're not. So that's an interesting one. It's another one of those places where you get clearer as you practice more, and you get more experience with it. Brain jam. That's one of my favorites.
All last week.
All last week, yes, all last week. Beautiful shifting in some of the energies and some really difficult stuff going through. Plus, I've had 5 closed head injuries in my life, and that was
5 what?
Closed head injuries. So brains being jumbled and jangled and sloshed around in the head. And that's a part of why I developed the brain formula. It's an interesting thing because years ago, when I was in the community and we were working in the community that I mentioned before, when the guy was good and not so good, but one of the things that we were doing that was great was working with Touch for Health. And the practitioners would muscle test people for systems that were weak and organs that were weak. And they were actually really doing muscle testing because they would isolate the muscle that related to that system and test that muscle to see if it was weak or not. And the muscles that always came up for me were around bladder and brain. The bladder system in the Chinese 5 element relating to the central nervous system, and including the brain. But in that system, there were some other muscles that related a lot to brain, and those are generally weak for me. And at the same time, I'm very strong in my brain. So there's this part of what's the strength has been weakened, but it's also the strength. And it's an interesting dynamic that goes on, I think, for a lot of people with different organ systems and what goes on in their own bodies and lives and how that plays out. And it's part of our learning experience for this lifetime, seems like. But anyway, we've got tools, again, for working with all of these ways of getting unclear and getting more clear. And the inexperienced part is just practice.
What
And
does practice look like?
practice looks like,
Good question.
yeah, it is a good question. Okay, another story on me. I was learning it was kinesiology. I was learning to work with the muscle testing. And I would muscle test my food, and muscle test the clothes I was going to wear, and just things that I was like, I don't have a big attachment to this, and I just see what comes up. And then I go into this streak of having a piece of chocolate after dinner. Like every night for like weeks, I was getting, piece of chocolate, yes, piece of chocolate, yes, just a piece of chocolate, yes. And then I got no. I'm like, what? Who said no? Who said no on that chocolate? And I had to step back and go, okay, what am I really asking here? What I'm really asking is not, can I just have a piece of chocolate? But I'm really asking what my real intention is it in my best interest to have this piece of chocolate? And when I got no, and I could not make it say yes, I was like, but I want it. No, but I want it. No. I was like, okay, I'm clear. I can't throw it. And even though there was a kind of an emotional charge to it, I knew in my being that I wanted to be really clear about what was in my best interest. So I couldn't throw it because that was where my focus really was.
And it almost was like maybe less about even having the piece of chocolate, but almost a sign that what you were doing was like you were getting the clarity of hearing the yeses and the nos.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was so hard, but I didn't have the chocolate that night.
Right.
I really wanted this. I'm like, no. Okay, I won't do it.
And were you doing the muscle tense, the
Yeah.
finger muscle tense?
I actually didn't know that at that time. I think I was doing these. Yeah, or
I think I
this.
could do that. I've got
Yeah.
clicky trigger fingers. So.
I think I was doing these because I didn't know that one at the time. Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like things like that. Like you just make up a way to practice. Like, I'll just check for what clothes I want to wear. I'll just check for something that I don't care about. What time am I going to, if you don't have a particular schedule, what time am I going to leave to go to this store? What's the best time for me to leave? If it doesn't matter, like, well, let's see, it's coming in at 12:15. Okay, fine. Well, it doesn't work out here because it's ferry schedule, but I'll go down there, wait for the next ferry. And then if you're working with guides, one of the things that I found helpful, I don't know if I wrote this on here, I'm not sure if it's on the sheet, but automatic writing, just writing, and not caring what comes down, caring what comes out, just, but if you hear this self-defeating or self-demeaning kind of tone, you know that it's not your guides. Or if it's this, something that sounds like it could be not healthy for you, or it's so completely outrageous that it's not something you can do right at the moment. Mm-hmm. It may be something coming through for future, or it needs to be broken down into pieces. But the guides may be giving you a hint for future. So again, it's a way, just doing these things is a way to begin building discernment on and know who you're talking to.
That's the thing. I feel I have never consciously worked with guides. I mean, when I had met with you and we talked about it, and I've been dabbling a little bit, but I have been writing my whole life, and there are I would say 80% of the time that I sit down and write, I'm receiving information, and I've gotten to the point now in my life where I realize that that's a huge part of what I am here to do. And so I really feel like it's time to take it to that next level of being conscious about who is speaking through me, and being really clear. Like, I want to honor really what they're saying, and I might be doing it halfway there, not being fully present to what's actually really happening, and just kind of taking it for granted a little bit. And so I know that I am opening to get to receive information. I guess, I'm looking for clarity on like asking and finding out who you are and how we can partner and what is the best way to honor the messages that you're asking.
Right. So there's another section in here called, oh, I did write it. I did put it in here. Ways to build a relationship. So if you have a particular guide that you're working with, think of them as you're going to sleep and you're waking up.
This just opens a whole new world for me too, to be able to like choose. Like I want whoever to speak through me in my writing. Like what an amazing, incredible experience to be able to make that choice.
It is. It's life changing.
It's life changing.
It is life changing.
Emotional about it. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, because I keep going back to this, but in our culture, we've been deadened. We've been cut off from a huge part of what it is to be human. And it's so empowering and so, gosh, what's the word? It's just like, it's invigorating, but it's almost like waking up to something that you didn't even know you missed until you finally had it, and then suddenly you're going, how could I not have this? How could I not live this way? And that's one of the things that, you know, in some of the interviews that Jessica did with me before the class, that was one thing that kept coming up for me is, how can I not live this way now? I don't know how to not live this way anymore.
Boring.
Yeah, it would be. It is more, but it's a lot more fun. It's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
So another thing is have a picture or a symbol to remind you. This would go for an ascended master or an angel, an animal spirit. If it's an ancestor and you know it's an ancestor, you might have a picture of them. That would be, you know, honoring as well. You probably see some behind me. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. There is a picture of Kuan Yin. There. There's two little angels kissing. Those are very symbolic of, you know, not anything in particular, but that I work with angels. And some of the animal spirits are represented by the feathers that are there. And I use those when I'm doing healing work. And then I haven't mentioned at all the crystal people. But the crystal people are hugely a part of connecting us to more information and to the earth and to the cosmic realms as well. They resonate, most of them resonate very high frequency.
What about meditation?
Meditation, definitely. Thank you. Quiet time, whether it's formal meditation or not. Yes. Speaking with them on a regular basis, just like, again, we're building a relationship. We're building, I can't say that enough times, we're building a relationship. And if you want to be receiving information, they want to know that you're really wanting to be receiving information. So it's just like if you're building a relationship with a person and you never call them. It's like, well, do you really want to hear from me? Why should I keep calling you if you never call me? So it's that same kind of thing. It's, stay in touch with the relationship, with the writing. Song, dance, movement, marvelous. Marvelous. Particularly with your animal spirits, but other people too. Just and for some people, seeing and hearing is not the way to go, and movement is a great form of connection and gaining information, because it comes through kinesthetically, it comes through body. I think almost everybody that's signed up has either worked with me directly or has used some of our products. But I said almost. But so I'll go a little bit into what flower essences are and why I work with them. So think about walking into your house and you flip on a light switch and you expect the light to come on. But if it doesn't, and you know the light switch is good, and you know the light bulb is good, then that tells you there's something going on in that wiring, that circuit there. Like we had a power outage yesterday morning. A transformer blew somewhere close by, and the whole island was without power for a while. And that was another one of those things of coming back to, well, the computer doesn't work, the light doesn't work, the switch is good, but there's no electricity. So, you know, there's where it is. And we're kind of like that too. We're organic. We eat foods, teas, tinctures, salves. You know, we use all those. Anything that's of the actual plant itself is of the organic part. And anything that is electromagnetic is where flower essences go. So they go to shore up the circuit, turn up the rheostat, connect the dots, you know, in between the different organs or systems or meridians or nerve pathways, or however, what needs to be worked on or supported. And so each individual essence has its own quality. And so I'm going to talk now about 4 products that I'm putting on special for people that have taken the class and why. Gary Oak Tree. If you think about oak tree and the kind of Celtic pagan sort of oak grove, sacred oak groves, the oak groves were the place where they would go and do ceremony and meet the spirits and travel to other dimensions. And so the Gary Oak Tree, even though it's indigenous to this area, is carrying that same sort of patterning of helping us travel between dimensions. So I call it like the up and down escalator for going up into other dimensions or down and then coming back to the 3rd dimension and being able to function here. So that makes it easier. Yeah, up and down. Yeah, that's kind of what they showed me when I was making it. I'm like, okay, that works.
Afterwards, it's a good one, though.
I do this. I use this every time I shift my teams. I use this every time. Well, usually in the morning, first thing, because I've been journaling a lot at night. I'm using it before I talk to clients. So I'm often using this like 6, 7, 8, 10 times during the day, just because of the way I need to shift my focus and attention and the band of frequency. Because I'm working on nuances too. I'm working on really clearly connecting in for every single thing I'm doing. So the Gary Oak Tree has been really extremely helpful. I mentioned Brain Jam. Here's the brain formula. And this is another one of my really good friends. It is designed to help us be more clear in our thinking in receiving information, but also in how the brain functions as far as all the brain areas working together as well as independently strong and healthy. So the cognitive part of the brain, the limbic part of the brain, the autonomic part of the brain, the forethinking, the forebrain part of the brain, all of those functioning well and functioning well together. So again, this works energetically, it's working with circuitry, it is not a drug, it does not interfere in that way. But what I'm finding, and a lot of other people that are taking this finding is that it's really, really helpful if you have a tendency to get foggy or jammed in your thinking, or if you're finding that lately the energy shifting, that it's a hard thing to do, then this is good. The spiritual spine is really a lot about what it says. The Western red cedar tree is one of the key essences in here, and that's a sacred energy plant to this area where the shamans go journey through the trees, and it was always an extremely important not only food and clothing source, but utensils and all kinds of things from the cedar tree. And so the spiritual spine works with alignment energetically, and it can actually affect the physical alignment of the spine. It works with the chakras on the center line, and it works with connecting from the source at the center of the Milky Way galaxy to the center of the Earth. That's through the Western red cedar tree, and one other. It's also working on strength and fortitude, and that way that we talk about emotional and mental spine, having the spine, having the capacity to do what you know you need to do, or you're capable of doing, or what you're here to do. So this comes in handy. I'll use this sometimes when I'm working with my guides and I'm like stressed because I've been doing a lot and different kinds of things, or I know I'm like if I'm working with the land and the land is really out of balance, then I'll go out of balance, and so I'll use this for my realignment. You know, those kinds of things. And then we have the really nice smelling one. These are all in the herbal vinegar base or in brandy. And we grow the red shiso here, which is the herb we use to make the base. So it's grown on this land. I tend it. We know it's really high quality. We dry it, make the tea infusion of it, and add organic white green vinegar, and that makes the carrier base for the frequency, the electricity, if you will, that vibrational imprint that are the flower essences that are doing the work. This one has a combination of flower essences and essential oils. So it's the nice smelling one, and it also has some of the alignment properties in it, but it also has more of an emotional connection because it has the oils in it and working through the emotional body. And it is designed, as it says, to help us enlighten ourselves. So bringing more light, being at that higher frequencies, and having a lighter attitude about life, you know, all those kinds of things.
And what's it called?
Enlighten. So all of these are 15% off for the people that are taking the course, and I think that was in the middle of next month. Is that what we did?
That's correct.
Yeah. I think it's to the middle of next month. So you have about 2.5, 3 weeks to take advantage of that special.
To the end of this month?
No.
Next month.
The middle of next month. The middle of May. Middle of May. Right. I don't want to get.
You need some of that brain fog.
Yes, I wanted to give people time to, you know, ponder this information and go back and look at it again, and you know, if they needed time to decide, you know, what they wanted to work with.
I'll take 2.
But if you know right away, go ahead and order right away. Yeah. You'll be receiving, the way you're going to do that, the way you get the discount is you'll be receiving an email from us that has a coupon code. And then at checkout, you will just put that coupon code in. And it will give you, if you're online, it'll give you the discount to do that. Yeah.
Can we just get one today?
You can get one today. Yes, you can. You can be here in person and do it today. Then we won't have the coupon code. Okay. Other questions, comments, anything to, as we're starting to wrap up?
I think you have an extraordinary gift just in your presence. I mean, just being around you. I mean, as you walk through the world, you're already doing your work.
Thank you.
It just, lots gets connected just being around you.
Thank you.
It's very wonderful.
It's me and not me at the same time.
I mean, it's
It's me and more than me at the
You're
same time.
walking paradox, aren't you?
You've made that multidimensional connection. And
Yes.
So you walk around in that
Yes,
space,
most of
and
the
it
time.
makes it easy for the people around you to, you know, I'm watching us all go click, 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 click. You know, it's just it's good. You know.
Yeah.
And I see that in your essences too. That,
Thank you.
it's really nice.
Okay. Wokoete! Okoete! Otoete! Otoete! Namaste.
Nice.